Hi, it's David Allen Moore. You're about to watch a preview lesson from my new course, Technique Transformer. We're going to use the process of practice to simplify passages in order to assimilate those elements and make them our own. So one thing that I like to do, this also gives you that element of having something that you can do to then again, like I said, use as a model for things that you're acquiring. I want to take a portion of a famously challenging passage from the last movement of Mozart 35. We have this passage, which is always the kind of thorny bit that gives people a challenge through there in the larger passage of that little bit through there. So what I'm going to do to simplify that is I want to start by just analyzing the passage to see what the actual finger combinations are. So I have open, at least with the fingering I'm doing. You could do this with any fingering, it's the exact same process. But I have open, 2, 4, 1, 4, 1, 2, 4. So if I reduce that pattern to just the fingering, that's exactly the same as what I'm going to be doing in the larger passage, but I'm simplifying it to really get a sense of what that feels like in the hand. Once I have that, I can start reintroducing some elements. So if I want to reintroduce, there's no necessarily right order for this, you can kind of play around with it, but if I want to introduce the shifts and the position changes, but not the string crossings yet, so you see that's the same as so again, I'm kind of going back and comparing to see what am I doing here, and then when I go, if I'm complicating that in any way, I want that to feel basically the same in my left hand. The next thing I might want to do is just introduce one of the string crossings. So I could do maybe even might be better with an open G there, so that string crossing is there too. Now I've got all the string crossings in there. So if I combine all those elements together, now I have the entire passage. There's a way of conceiving of using the left hand that I find to be really potent because it simplifies it into as few moves as possible and really helps you focus on what's presenting a challenge to you in any particular passage. So if we start with the concept that we've already got a note. So for example, let's say, I'm just going to pick the E on the D string there. I only have a limited number of options of what I can do after that note. I have several pairs of things that I can do. I can add a note, so I would play the E, and then let's say I add 4. So I can put down 2 or 4, that's just putting a finger down in that context. So those are the 2 possible pairs from there. I could lift a finger, so I could go, or those would be the other second kind of pair. So it's note place or note lift. You could have 2 notes, kind of a twofer in one position. So going from that note to any of the other, or I suppose you could also have, if we're going to be thorough, but it's 2 for 1. And then the last one is note shift, where the idea of the shift is the second note. So something like that. So if you look at something as having just that number of pairs, if I take that passage from Mozart 35 again, I have, that's note lift, note place, Now I have a twofer, and then note shift. So I can look at any one of those pairs and see which is the one that is giving me the most challenge. I choose my words carefully. I don't want to say difficult. I want it to be something that's new or challenging. And I'm looking at that pair as being the limiting pair. So it's the thing that is going to determine the tempo at which I play the rest of the passage, because if I can't play that one pair at that tempo, it's going to cause there to be a hitch or a snag somewhere in the passage. So for example, if, let's say, pivots are a challenging thing for me, then maybe that's my limiting pair. And so I would see how fast I can play that comfortably, and then I would scale the rest of it down to that tempo so that it has a balance and has a chance to grow as one organic unit. One of the mistakes that we frequently make in preparation and practice is you might have a limiting pair there, but if it's not scaled down to accommodate that, that part always feels kind of awkward and compressed even as the whole passage gets faster. So the parts that are more agile and more integrated continue to get faster. That part also continues to get faster, but it's out of balance with the other things. And so it always still kind of has that feeling of being unsettled at that point. So I would say in that passage, in my experience, the place that most people have a challenge is through, that's their limiting pair right there. So if I just play that pair, then I can see at what tempo can I actually play the passage, because that is my limiting pair. Then I can take that out of context and just work on that. And that gives me an opportunity to really integrate it back into the passage where every one of those pairs feels equally executed and seamless. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. The full details of the course are listed below.